What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 44 of For the Love of the Game. I'm your host, Mark Belville, as always, joined by my co host, Steve Lewis. Stevie, we're on episode 44, like I said, almost to a big milestone, almost to episode 50. And we're a couple months away from the 1 year anniversary of the podcast. So, a couple of big things coming up soon. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy to be here. It was really cold. We had some snow in the air over here. Happy to be inside. And yeah, like we're talking almost Mark, like a month and a half away from this show going on for a year.
Yeah,
So
middle of March would be a year.
shout out, stay and persevere. We started this as the Jordan documentary, and then obviously we got sports back, and we've been able to grow from there. And thanks for all the great feedback that we've been getting from everybody. And we'll continue to push out the content, and we'll continue to get better.
Yeah, we found out Stevie's got some haters out there.
I do. And I want everybody to know that if you feel a certain way, that means that, that's a good thing. If you didn't feel anything at all, then I'd be like, well, then they're not really understanding
when you watch or listen to the podcast, we want to make sure you guys feel something.
Yeah.
You guys get something out of it, right?
If I make you angry, then, I wasn't purposely trying to make you angry, but that's the point of what we do in the show is me and Mark divide the lines, we put the line in the sand, and, and we talk honestly. Like I'll always say that Mark's a green teamer, and I'll always come at him for the fact that I feel like he drinks too much Celtics Kool-Aid, but I'm a Celtics fan too. But my thing is I'm not in that, alternate reality like you are, where like you just believe that everything.
I'm a green teamer, but I wanted to trade for James Harden, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. You're right.
No, but the fact of the matter is, like, you're always going to love your team, and I'm always going to be hard on. I love them too, but I'm always going to be tougher on them than you. So that's ultimately a good thing. So that's all I got to say about that.
All right, before we get into episode 44, I just want to talk about our sponsors really quickly. We got RX Hemp. Go check them out over at rxhemp.com. They got all natural CBD products over there. Quick RX Hemp story. Steve and I played some pickup basketball this past weekend. I busted up my ankle pretty badly where it caused me to actually miss a day of work. And every day since that had happened, I've been putting some RX Hemp on that ankle. And let me tell you, my ankle right now feels very, very good to the point where like I'm probably going to play again this weekend. Well, so like it does the trick. It's very good. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Well, I mean, some of us sprain our ankles. Some people still wake up the next day. I was more impressed that you were able to play without whining about it if it actually hurt that bad. And you said that you were running on pure adrenaline.
That's what it is when you play. Whether it's an adrenaline doesn't mean it has to be like I know what you're getting because when I told you it was adrenaline, you're like that's weird because it's a pickup basketball game. But like adrenaline doesn't have to. Adrenaline doesn't mean like you're playing in front of thousands of fans and like it's a big basketball game. Like adrenaline is just you're just running around.
Yeah,
that's how adrenaline like.
No,
is,
but
you know what I mean?
My idea was that like this guy over here was being a hardo and he was playing through an injury in a pickup basketball game that caused him to miss a day of work. So if it hurts you that bad to not be able to get up and do what you needed to do the next day, and like I said, I saw the pictures. I'm not saying that you were fibbing or milking or doing anything of the sort. I'm just saying in terms of being able to just continue playing in a basketball game that means nothing to your life at that point. And obviously it's always was bad for you to be able to play that because you lost a day of work. To say that you weren't able to you were pushing on adrenaline, I would have just been like, I would have packed it in and went home because I'm like, why am I here? Why am I going to hurt myself some more? But
because
when you say adrenaline to me, I'm like, this guy over here says to himself, like, this is the championship. Like my team needs me. Like I can't not play.
Dude,
right now. Like, I gotta get back.
How long have you known me? Like that's always been how I play. Like I'm probably
not
the most
32.
competitive. I'm probably the most competitive guy that you know in everything.
I listen, like I don't think it has anything to do with that, but the fact my point was like if my ankle looked the way your ankle looked like, you would have heard me talking about it. You didn't say a peep about it.
No, but you didn't see it when it happened? I was limping all over the court.
I remember, but I thought it was an old I thought it was an old man fall. I thought you just fell and that was it. I didn't think that.
Dude, I stepped on somebody's foot and it just went.
I said, I said, Mark's been out of it for a little while. That's an old man fall right there.
Dude, we haven't played hoops in over a year.
Oh, trust me.
Since everything got shut down.
It's like the first like couple possessions were fine. And then all of a sudden it was just like the wind just got knocked out of me for like the next 15, 20 minutes I was more disappointed to win a first game because I knew I had to now play another game after that. Like I didn't
Yeah.
need it right there.
No,
I
the
needed
break
I
was the
needed some
best
game.
part. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Losing was so good. It was so good.
So, like I said, guys, go check RxHemp out over at rxhemp.com and use code RxHemp-USN. Save 10% on your whole order. It works, so go get some of that. And then also all your sports betting needs, guys, mybookie.ag. Use code USN100 on there. And when you deposit, they'll match it 100% up to $1,000. They got all your sports latest lines, over unders, and they got all your prop bets as well. So go check them out. Try to win some money along with us. And then one last thing, wiredbysports.com. Go check out them. That's our brand and everything, our website. We got some great new articles on there. We got some new contributors contributing for us. They're writing about soccer and the Premier League and things like that. So if you guys are big soccer fans, we got a lot of soccer articles up there right now. And then you can always get some merch and support us over at Wired by Sports and use code WBS10, and that'll get you 10% off your whole order there. Quickly, we got a comment here saying my bookie what? So my bookie is a sports betting platform. So go to mybookie.ag, like I said, and use that code USN100, and you can go bet on sports there, and they'll match your deposit up to 100%. And we got our favorite troll here, Woozy, joining us. He's back. We missed him, Woozy. He said,
Shout
"Come
out
to
Woozy.
come to South Carolina." He says, so he can whip Steve's ass in golf.
Hey Woozy, first off, I haven't heard from you since Clemson took that fall against Ohio State. So good to know that you're alive. I knew that you probably needed some time to yourself because that hurt so bad. And I hate to put salt in the wound, but yes, you probably would beat my ass in golf. But I'm coming. Mark, I told you this. I've been silently training.
Oh yeah, we got big plans for the
sport,
spring. We got big plans for the spring.
And I'm just gonna come out like gangbusters. Like people are gonna be like, just feel like they're getting back into it in April. But I've been swinging a club all year round.
Dude, Woozy plays golf, but I've seen some videos of Woozy hooping. Like he's a hooper.
Yeah, but he doesn't call bank, and I know what he knows when I mean it when I say that. Like he puts a highlight tape out of him hitting a bank three.
Yeah.
he didn't call bank, Mark.
No, that's all right. No big deal. All right, guys. So on today's show, we're going to get into the conference championship weekend this Sunday. We're going to talk about James Harden. He got traded, obviously, to the Brooklyn Nets. The big three of him, Kyrie, and KD played their first game together last night. We'll talk about what that means, and going forward for the Brooklyn Nets, and then we'll get into some college basketball lines for tomorrow, Friday, and we'll give you our best plays for tomorrow. So we're gonna get right into it. The first game, conference championship Sunday, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into Lambeau Field to play. Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers, huge matchup there. Tom Brady going to a place he's never won before, the only stadium he's never won at. So, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder.
You stole that from me. I said, you stole that from me.
No, yeah, you told me that. No, you did. But that's fine. But it doesn't mean I can't say it because it's true. Like, I'm leading into it. So, like, that's something that needs to be said.
It's true.
All right. So, yeah, there you go. I think the Packers are a 3-point favorite in this game, and the line currently is at 51.5. So it moved up a half a point. I think it opened at 51, I believe. So not much movement there. The line stayed the same. It's been 3 all week. But Steve, this is a big game. Obviously, winner goes to the Super Bowl. We got a great quarterback matchup. What are you looking at when you look at the Buccaneers versus the Packers this weekend?
Well, weather's one, and we don't know how great, well-documented quarterbacks that perform well in the cold and in the weather. So the one thing that I always look for, like when I look at a game like this, is I've always said there's two people that you can't bet against. And now these two people are playing
against each other.
Conference championship. You don't bet against Aaron Rodgers because he'll just kill you. And you don't definitely bet against Tom Brady when it ultimately comes down to this. And as a Patriots fan all these years, like if you give Tom Brady and the Patriots points, like you take them every day of the week. And I don't know if it's the same in this situation, but all we have to know is that if it's snowing out, we know that the offenses are going to be able to move the ball because we talk about it all the time that the defense doesn't know where you're going.
Exactly.
The offense knows how to run routes, so they're going to be able to get open, and those quarterbacks know it. So being able to get the ball down the field is important. We also know that one of Tampa Bay's strengths is their defensive front end four. So we know that Green Bay's probably not going to be able to run the ball as well as they usually do, especially down Bakhtiari, which is going to hurt in a game like this. So you have to assume that Aaron Rodgers is going to be dropping back a lot more, and utilizing his weapons, And it's funny, like, we didn't really used to think of Green Bay having weapons besides Devontae Adams, but like guys like Scantling has really come out of the woods. Lazard, now since he's back from his injury, is starting.
Tunyon is good.
So these guys that like weren't like well documented, like really good wideouts, like Aaron Rodgers is making them look good. So when it ultimately comes down to it, I look at this game and I say to myself, like, how does it not go over the number 51.5 for total? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me that these games won't pace out. Like, I've tried to like listen to everybody talking about, like the defenses, like Tampa Bay's defense last week versus the Saints arguably won the game, because ultimately
3 interceptions I think they had. I definitely agree with that.
Tampa Bay capitalized off all of those turnovers. They scored 21 points. So like that defense set up a lot of things last week. But I will also say to those people that New Orleans is probably the best defensive team left in the playoffs after in the divisional round, in my opinion. I really thought that secondary, which did a pretty good job, in my opinion, and we always talk about those matchups on the outside, like it's hard to contain Evans and Godwin. Obviously, Brown got hurt, so
and Mike Evans got shut down. Really, I mean, he had that one touchdown, but it was that short little slant from like the 3-yard line. But other than that, he was held in check pretty much most of that game.
Green Bay does not have a secondary that's going to be able to is not level to the Saints secondary at all. Like that's a divisional game. Like those guys beat each other up all year round. Like there's a lot of jarring going back and forth. Like in my opinion, if Brady continues to look sharp, he's going to have no issue throwing on the Green Bay secondary at all. We watched Mitch Trubisky put numbers up against that secondary. So like, to think that Brady and the Bucs and now coming into their own won't be able to put points. Now, I ultimately believe that this is a game where it's going to be the last two drives is going to ultimately be a lead for one team, and then the other team's going to come down the field at the very, very end and win the game.
It's going to be a one-possession game for sure.
If there's two quarterbacks that you don't want to have the ball with the last drive on the line, it's these two. So that's where I'm looking at from a point standpoint. Like if I feel like it's ultimately going to come down to that, then like I have to wager on the over in that situation, because honestly, Mark, you really can't pick a side here. You really can't pick a side because you can make compelling arguments from both sides of why they should win this game. And for Tom Brady in the playoffs, like, this would be like something that's normally happening. Like he's on another team, but like this is normal. He's just doing it in the NFC now. But
well, that's the thing too with like Tom is like, so now they're pulling up quotes like who was it? Somebody's had a quote. I don't know if it was like Doug Baldwin or somebody from Seattle. Maybe it was Earl Thomas back in Seattle. They pulled up a quote from like a while ago. It was like 2011 or 2012, and it was like Tom Brady's doing this because he plays in the AFC East. Like, come over to our conference and our division and the NFC and see what he does. And Tom Brady does that, and he's one game away from the Super Bowl. So like it goes to show you like it's kind of irrelevant where Tom Brady plays or what division he plays, and he's still gonna be Tom Brady and do what he does. And even at his age, like he's not getting better right now, but he's not getting worse. Right? He's the same. Like we saw last week what a declining 43-year-old quarterback looks like, and that's Drew Brees with the game that he had. Brady's not gonna lose you this game. He's going to be consistent, and that's what he did last week. Like Brady wasn't great last week, but he got the ball in short field situations. He made timely throws. The guy can still sling it. He had that nice throw to Godwin, even though Godwin dropped it. But a nice dime to him. So the guy can still make plays at his age, and they show you why he's the greatest of all time.
When it ultimately comes down to it, like you saw ultimately the defining stat of why they won last week, it was 4 turnovers to nothing. Like you're never going to win a game, especially in the playoffs, when you're a -4 in the turnover differential. But if you know anything about Brady and the Patriots over the years, like they'll tell you, like the teams that don't turn the ball over in the postseason, they win. Like that's ultimately what it comes down to it. Like they're able to control the ball, control the clock, and take advantage of the other team's mistakes. So far in the playoffs, you've seen Tom Brady do Tom Brady things, not turning the ball over. And I think that going up to Green Bay, like you can't turn the ball over. You can't do it. You can't leave your defense in short field situations. The one thing though that the Bucs need to finish though, and they need to continue to work on, is having a better red zone offense. And I think that's the one thing that could stifle them, because I feel like this game is going to be decided on touchdowns, not field goals, Mark.
Yeah, I completely agree with that too, and I like your side with the total over there too, because I agree. I think the points are going to be able to be scored. I think a lot of people insinuate and think cold weather or snow with low scoring, and that's just always been the opposite. It's not the case, and like you said, it's because the offense always knows what they're doing. They know the play. The defense doesn't, so it's hard for the defense to react when somebody makes a cut or is running. You just don't know where they're going. So I do like that over there too. As far as the side, I gotta go with Tampa Bay on the money line. I think they're gonna win this game. And I think of it because I think the offenses kind of canceled themselves out. They both got great quarterback play. They both got a good running games. They both got weapons on the outside. But I do think it's that Tampa Bay defense that we talked about that's playing. The way they're playing now, they're probably the best defense left in the playoffs. Like New Orleans is out, so I'd have to say Tampa Bay's defense is probably the best left in the playoffs, in my opinion, with that front four and their linebackers with Levante David. They're playing really well. Like you said, 3 interceptions last week. So if they can get some key pressures on Aaron Rodgers, you said Bakhtiari's out. So if Aaron Rodgers has to drop back more often, they're not able to run the ball. There's gonna be a lot of situations where he's going to be under duress, and turnovers are quite possible to happen with Tampa Bay. So if they can get a few turnovers, I like them to win this game. I do think it's going to be close. Like I said, one possession game, but that's what makes the difference for me is the way their defense is playing right now. Because like I said, I think the offenses are going to cancel themselves out.
I will say, though, that there is one way to stop them, and that's if there is a ton of wind. It's tough to get the ball down the field if the wind's in your face the whole game. So,
Yeah,
that is the issue. But like I said, I just feel like from a rush standpoint, like Aaron Jones, those other guys are going to get their work. But I just think that if Tampa Bay can neutralize them, which they've basically done all season to running backs, like they're going to force Aaron Rodgers to go through the air. So, and it's the same. It's the same thing on the other side. Like we see Ronald Jones. Like we don't know what his status is coming into this game. We saw him limping off the field the last time. So
yep.
we obviously know that Leonard Fournette is not good anymore. I don't care what anybody says
Yeah.
to me. Like Leonard Fournette might be able to get you. Fournette might be able to get you a yard here and there, but he's stone hands. Like he's not going to be the guy that's going to be able to get them what they need to go. So Ronald Jones is definitely very important to Tampa Bay. That's why I'm not willing to sell out on that pick, just because also we're worrying about what Antonio Brown's going to be doing and his status with the MRI and the knee this week. So I want Tampa Bay to win, and I believe that, like you have the right guy in the situation, but for me, like I really can't pick a side here. I just think I think the total is the play, and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah. My thing is like, I'm still, and I said it last week too, because you were on me last week. You're like, Tampa Bay. I said Tampa Bay money line last week. You're like, the Saints are the best team. They're going to the Super Bowl, all this other stuff. And I was like, no, dude, no. Like, it's Tom Brady, playoff
stop.
Tom. Like,
Stop.
that's what it is,
Stop.
dude. Stop what? Stop what? Michael Thomas, no catches? Michael Thomas, 0 catches last week?
First of all, I had first touchdown prop, so him catching the ball out of bounds on that drive where he only got 1 foot down kind of killed me. A little killed me inside. But anyways, we'll
killed him too. He didn't get anything after that.
No Taysom Hill, no Latavius Murray. Like those are two of the most important parts of your rushing attack, because you can't run the ball with Alvin Kamara. You just can't do it. It's not like he's not that kind of guy. He's the one that's supposed to slip one by you and then be able to get out in space for a pass. Like
I mean, he had a pretty good game.
Yeah, but you need Lat Murray and Taysom Hill to be able to come in there and do what they were practicing to make those things work. Like you saw those Saints receivers, they weren't getting any separation. You saw the way Drew Brees was throwing the ball. Like, in my opinion, the Saints
played his last game.
The Saints played so bad, but they were in that game the whole way, and that says a lot. That says a lot to me.
Yeah, they still lost.
They did lose. Who dat?
But that's gonna be who's like Tom Brady's like got that like kind of MJ-esque to him where he looks for something to just kind of flip that switch, that little motivation, and like just knowing him, like you beat Breeze, you have a chance to beat Rodgers, you have a chance to go against Mahomes in the next round. Like there's nobody that wants to win more than this guy right now.
Just remember it.
And Brady knows what's going on. Like he knows what everybody says about him. Brady's on social media. The dude's like the social media GOAT right now. The videos that he makes after every game and all the memes that he throws out there, he's well aware of what people say about him.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately everybody knows the narrative, but it's just remember it's a team game. It's a team game, and when you got two great quarterbacks going at it right now, like you're going to need some of your team to be able to do it. The last time I saw Tom go up against a high-profile quarterback in the AFC Championships against Patrick Mahomes, and they won that game in Kansas City, that was probably the best football game I've ever watched from an offensive standpoint. Like, those guys traded blows in the fourth quarter, and you said it. Like,
just went back
Tom
and
Brady,
forth.
exactly. And in a moment, you thought that they were going to pass the reign to Patrick Mahomes there, and that was going to be it. And nope, good old Tommy boy, said nope. Still the class, still doing things.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's a little bit of the same of what's going on this year. He knows ultimately at the end that's who he's going to have to face.
Fair.
Most likely. You know what I mean?
No, I completely agree.
And that doesn't always generate into a win. But I tell you, the most prepared person on Sunday is going to be Tom Brady.
I agree with that. Because
right,
Bruce Arians stinks.
No, exactly. And like, you best believe like Brady's going to be in that huddle audibling, calling a lot of his own plays, like I said, audibling out of stuff. He's going to be doing whatever he wants to do. He knows what it takes to win in these situations, not Bruce Arians.
I'm not trusting Byron Leftwich with my life. No way.
We got Jordan. Jordan says Packers by 2 million. He said Packers by 1 million, and then he's doubled down and said Packers by 2 million. Jordan's a gambling guy. We got his picks every week. We see him on Twitter. What's he think? You like the over, the under in this game, Jordan? We already know you like Packers by 2 million.
It's just funny to me because the chalk.
What's the computer say? What's the model say? That's what I want to know.
If you take Kansas City and you take Green Bay, which is incredibly chalk this week, and you just take them money line, like, it's plus 140. So like, ultimately, when I look at these games this week, I don't think you have to bet per se per game on a side. I think if you just want to pick the Super Bowl prediction and just kind of go with it, I think that's not a terrible decision either.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's move on to the AFC Championship game on Sunday night. We got the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship against the Kansas City Chiefs. The line of this game is also 3, which hasn't moved, and the over-under is 54 right now. Another high over-under. Stevie, this game, we got Buffalo coming in. They didn't really play too well against Baltimore, I'd say. I mean, their defense played really well, but other than the offense didn't generate many points, they had a pick 6 in that game. The defense scored a touchdown, so they were really only able to generate 10 points in that game. Definitely not as good as they did in the wild card round. And then Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes has been practicing. He got a concussion, or he was in the concussion protocol, but he practiced fully all week, so he's definitely going to play this week. And how do you see this game playing? I know we might see a little different on this game, and I like Buffalo. I said that to you before. I think Buffalo has what it takes to make this game close and potentially win. But how do you see this game playing out on Sunday?
Well, let's start with what Vegas came out with. So as soon as these games were over on Sunday, like, there was a line instantly made. And I know how it works. Like, they already have a pre-line set up for whoever makes it against the other. But this one was different because we just watched Patrick Mahomes just get knocked out by a concussion. So that game immediately came out, Mark, a pick 'em. Immediately. And immediately everybody started wagering tons of money on Kansas City, which got them as high as where they are right now at this point. And it was wild to me because I said to myself, there's no way Patrick Mahomes is not going to play in the AFC Championship, right? Like, it's not, It's crazy. Like,
and it was a weird injury too, because like, if you remember the injury, like, he didn't even really hit his head. Like, the guy who hit him,
it was a chokehold.
Yeah, it was like a weird concussion. Like, if you're watching it, you're like, how does he have a concussion?
Yeah, I mean, but he did, because when he got up, he couldn't even stand.
Oh, dude, he was like, he didn't know where he was.
He was gone. So the idea for me was the money pounded. So everybody completely agreed with the fact that Patrick Mahomes was probably going to play in the AFC Championship. Another thing that they did was they opened the total at 52. That immediately shot up. And in my opinion, now Mahomes hasn't officially been ruled active for that game. Like, as soon as he gets ruled active, Mark, like, it's hard for me not to think that number is not going to go up to 56 or 57. Like,
I don't think it's going to go up. I don't think it's going to go up that much, because I don't think he necessarily has to be ruled active, because the fact that he's been participating fully in practice means he's active.
Doesn't matter.
In the NFL world, when you fully participate in practice, you don't miss games on Sunday. So Vegas knows that.
No, but people have setbacks. Things happen, like, in a blink of an eye. Like, because this is a quarterback-driven matchup. If Patrick Mahomes can't play, the Bills are the automatic bet. Like, there's no other bet. Like, it doesn't matter. Now,
no Chad Henne, dude?
When they played during the season, the game was 26-17. So that game went under the total. Actually, when we talk about it, both championship games went on the total because Tampa Bay throttled Green Bay by a bajillion. What was it,
Yeah, it
38 to
wasn't even
10 or something
close.
like that?
Oh yeah.
It
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
even close. Like they dominated Green Bay in that whole game, and that's a game that people will look back on and try to figure out like where they went wrong. Because I don't think Antonio Brown wasn't on that team at that point, anyways. Well, he
No,
was on the
and let's
team,
be
but
honest, what happens in the regular season doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen, in the playoffs. That's
no,
same thing with Saints and Buccaneers last week.
that's true. So when you look at the Kansas City game, and it's quarterback driven. Mahomes plays like they're definitely the favorite in the matchup. There, if Buffalo is going to compete in that game, like that's going to have to come on the offensive end. Now, the interesting stat is in the last 10 games, the Kansas City Chiefs have not covered a spread. They have not done it. So, three's not that much. It's hard for me not to think if they don't win that they're not going to
Yeah,
win by at least three or more. So, Buffalo's we both picked Baltimore last week.
I
And
did. Yep.
and Buffalo, besides getting a 101-yard touchdown return, only scored 10 points. They only scored 10 points against the Ravens defense. This is good, but I thought they would put up a lot more points than that. They needed that interception because ultimately Lamar Jackson threw that game away because Baltimore could have won that game.
If
Not to
Baltimore
mention
scores
Justin
on that
Tucker.
possession, I mean, he threw an interception at the goal line. I mean, if they score in that drive instead of the pick six, it's a whole different ball game.
And then he got hurt later on, so like there was no chance to even have a late comeback. But Justin Tucker misses 2 field goals. Obviously, we know how windy it was.
Oh yeah.
But that offense didn't perform too well. The one thing I will say though is I do believe that the defense for the Baltimore Ravens is a lot better than the defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I do hold a lot of stock that Stephon Diggs has impressed the hell out of me this year. Absolutely.
This might be the worst defense Buffalo's played in the playoffs. Like Indy's defense, you could argue is better with DeForest Buckner and some of those dudes in the secondary that they have as well is better than what Kansas City has. So this could be their easiest test on defensively.
Yeah, and the defense for Kansas City played good last week, but I mean, if it wasn't for that ball rolling out of the back of the end zone on the fumble, like who knows? Kansas City might have put up more numbers in that game. So, it's going to come down if Buffalo can run the ball. If Buffalo can run the ball, they'll have a good shot. But I just think that it's going to be such a shootout. This total for me, this is just another over for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be a shootout. I think if Buffalo wants to keep this game close, they're going to have to score with Kansas City because even though Buffalo's defense played okay against Lamar Jackson last week, Patrick Mahomes is a different animal. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is mobile, but he's way better in the pocket and on the run. When he runs and scrambles, he scrambles to throw. He doesn't scramble to run. So it's a little bit different than Lamar Jackson, who's always got that read option. And Mahomes doesn't really run too many read option plays where he just takes it down and runs with it. He always scrambles out of the pocket. So a little bit different. And I think Patrick Mahomes, like I said, Kansas City's offense with those weapons, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is always making a big play. He's always in the right spot at the right time. I mean, they're used to receivers. They locked down Hollywood Brown last week, and Tyreek Hill's a lot better than Hollywood Brown, don't get me wrong, but the speed factor is there. So maybe if they do something similar there, who knows? But they're going to put up points, and Buffalo's going to have to score with this team. They're going to have to get Devin Singletary going. They're going to have to get the run game going to open up the play action. Stephon Diggs. Cole Beasley, I think, could be an X factor. He's had a really good season this year. And so I know he's been banged up too a lot. So we'll see if he's healthy. Dawson Knox is another, their tight end is another good tight end there. So my biggest thing with the Buffalo is just, it's going to come down to Josh Allen. How is Josh Allen going to play in this game? Is he going to be Josh Allen, who a lot of people were talking about potentially being an MVP candidate this year? Or is he going to be the Josh Allen that fumbled away the playoffs last year? And almost, if you remember in the wild card round, almost made 2 big mistakes to lose that game as well at the end. But Indy couldn't capitalize. So he's got to keep it clean, have a clean game, not have any key turnovers, and Buffalo should be right in this game at the end.
No, I mean, I agree. Like I said, this is going to be a really close game. But for me, I just think that Patrick Mahomes has been there, done that. Like if he's healthy, he's ready to go. He's going to be able to lead Kansas City to win because I always feel like when Kansas City needs to score, they always score. And that's the sign of the team. And I say that Travis Kelce's a knack. Like he's everywhere. Hilaire is their running back is a possible suit up this week. So that's another added dimension to their run game that they haven't had. And I think that's important. One thing, though, that Kansas City needs to do is they are one of the worst teams in the red zone. And that's a crazy stat. Like, it's hard for me to understand that, like, with a great tight end like Travis Kelce, a solid run game like they had, and Patrick Mahomes, that they're the ones that are struggling to get the ball in the end zone. They can't have that issue. If Buffalo is able to hold them out of the end zone, I think that's Buffalo's biggest chance.
Yeah.
It's not going to be so much what you do between the 20s. It's going to be what you do inside the 20s.
Yeah.
I think Kansas City and Buffalo are going to be able to march the ball both ways all day. It's whether or not they finish or not. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to for me, whoever wins this game. But like I said, like Patrick Mahomes gets ruled in and they'll turn around and that total is going to go up another 2 points. So I still think there's good value there taking the over at 54. It's a high number, but
Yeah.
I think it's
Jordan says, what number would you stop betting the over at?
I would stop betting the over at 56.
You would stop betting the over at 56?
Yeah, like 56 would probably be the peak for me. Like I said, I liked where it opened. But 56 is probably where I would shut it down. No, I mean, I don't know. I always say I like the number.
This could be like a 30-28 game, 35. Like Kansas City could go out and score 5 touchdowns.
I like the number. I like the number that I have at 53, but I feel like I would bet it up 57. I 56, 57. I don't think I would go higher than that.
I don't think that line's moving that much, to be honest with you, before Sunday either.
Watch.
It's not going to go up that high.
Watch. When it gets to Sunday and the public starts to weigh in on it, like, watch.
Yeah. It'll move up a little bit, but I don't think it's going as high as 57 if it goes up at all. And if the public leans towards the over, which they probably will. But like I said, dude, Mahomes is playing. Everybody knows Mahomes is playing. He's had full practice. It's not like anything is going to change from now until Sunday.
Okay. We'll see.
Thanks, Jordan. Mark's right.
Okay. I agree. Kansas City's going to win.
57.
Kansas City's going to win.
Yeah, I think Kansas City will win too. I do want Buffalo to win though. I would love the Buffalo.
Everybody wants Buffalo to win.
I know. I just I'm a guy when my team's not in it. Like the Niners aren't in contention, they're not in the playoffs, whatever. I love to see the underdog team win. So like Buffalo, a team who's had, it would have been awesome if it was this week. It was Buffalo and Cleveland. Would have been the greatest. Would have won the best AFC championships. But I would love to see Buffalo. Yeah, it would have been a good AFC championship. It would have.
No, it would not have been a good AFC championship. It would be nice for those franchises to be able to get that.
That's what I'm saying. You like to see the little brothers win every once in a while.
No, I want to see the best teams playing for it all.
Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, like what could be better?
Right, I agree. All right, man. Let's move on to some NBA news. We got James Harden, who got traded last week to the Brooklyn Nets. He ended up getting traded they ended up getting 8 first-round draft picks. They got 4 picks unprotected. They got 4 pick swaps. The Nets lost Jared Allen to Cleveland. Ended up eventually being 4 teams involved. Karis LeVert goes to Houston, but then he gets traded from Houston to Indiana for Victor Oladipo. Taurean Prince and Jared Allen, like I said, they go to Cleveland. So tons of moving parts in this trade. But obviously the biggest one, James Harden goes to Brooklyn to team up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving was on a little bit of a hiatus there for a little while. He took some time off, went to his sister's party, no mask, breaking all the COVID rules, got fined a ton of money. He finally came back, joined them last night in a game for their first game together as a big 3. I think they just recently beat Milwaukee without Kyrie, just KD and James Harden. And then last night they gave up 147 points to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers are the worst scoring offense in the NBA. There's absolutely no defense being played, Steve. What's your opinion on the big 3, man? I know the ultimate goal is a championship there, but can they make that work with that defense being so bad?
Well, side note, Cleveland has one of the best defensive efficiencies in the league. So, there was a little defense being played. Nets just weren't caring about it, but, that's what it was.
Who was playing defense? They gave up the Cavs gave up 135 points and the Nets gave up 147.
Yeah, but did you see how many points they scored in overtime? Both overtimes combined.
Yeah, but still, there was no defense being played.
It was actually like low hundreds when they got to the overtimes. Like I know that's kind of blows your mind, but they scored like over 35 points each in those 2 combined overtimes. It was a lot.
So that just goes to no defense being played.
No,
right?
But I'm saying for the course of the whole game, though, there was kind of some defense being played because that was the only way Cleveland was in it. So I'll take it from the famous quote of Dwayne Wade: "Rome wasn't built in one night." This team's going to be there at the end of the year, whether anybody likes it or not. And the one thing that I'll take away from the other night without Kyrie is they already beat the best team in the East in Milwaukee, or what has been the class of the East the last couple of years in Milwaukee without him. And it made
the regular season class of the East.
Yeah, but it makes me think that this team is actually perfectly set up to do exactly what most teams wish they could do, and that's rest and win at the same time. Because they can always play 2 on, 1 off during the middle of the year and be able to still get wins and still be able to get to that 1 seed. Now, we don't know if home court's really going to matter at the end anyways. We don't know if any fans are going to be in there. So I think a team like the Nets really doesn't care about seeding. They're going to win games no matter what. Right now, they're just going to try to gel. They're just going to try to be human because Kyrie, coming back off his hiatus, whatever he was doing, is going back in the mold. I think last night, though, Kyrie put up so many more shots than I thought that he would have. Like, James Harden was the one that took twice as less shots than Kyrie Irving. So very shocked about that. They're going to be the ones that are going to be on the buyout market. We see it every year with teams that are competing for a championship because right now that bench stinks. And that's the price that you had to give up to be able to get James Harden. But you and I both know they're going to be very active on the buyout market, and they're going to be able to get some good vets in for their push because there's nobody that's going to be able to score with them. We know that. It's just basically, is there anybody that's going to be able to score more than them to be able to beat them? And I don't know if that's the case in most of these situations. It was a terrible deal for the organization long term for the Nets to give up as much as they did because
it's similar to the Celtics trade.
You're now getting, but the difference is they're getting players that are still kind of in their primes. Like the big three. But
they all have an opportunity. Yeah, but they all have an opportunity to leave in 2 years.
That's the problem. You have
like if it doesn't work out, then they leave. You're back to fucking square one. You
have 3 head cases on your team. And you don't know what's going to happen. Everything tells you that it's going to be something that can bust at some point. Something's going to happen. It might be good for the rest of the year. It might be good for a little bit of the next year, but at some point that ball is going to start to only gravitate towards one person at a time, and the other ones are going to get a little upset. And I just don't know how long they can coexist for. I think they can coexist for this year, but going forward, I don't know how that's going to work. And from an organization standpoint, you're going to be gutted. You're going to be gutted in 3 years again. There's no doubt about it because those guys aren't going to stay in Brooklyn for the rest of their lives. It's just not going to happen. They're going to go other places. Yeah. They might get a ring. They might get 2, but they're going to give up on that organization at some point. So you look around and you see what the other teams got in that deal. Like Houston somehow gets Victor Oladipo.
You could argue Indiana outside of like Karis LeVert had that physical and they found that mass, but if he's healthy and hopefully he's doing good and he's okay, if he comes back, you could argue Indiana won that trade, made the best move with that trade.
And I agree because that's gonna finally give Karis LeVert his starter minutes and his freedom to be that offensive guy that he has shown that he can be when they were in the bubble last year.
LeVert's a baller, and I'm kind of upset because LeVert was my 6th man of the year pick, and now he's not even going to qualify for 6th man of the year because he's going to be a starter.
It's honestly a blessing. It's so crazy that like how things work out. Like he gets traded and they have to run a physical. They find that mass on his kidney. Like talk about, something that was needed to happen to possibly save his life, as he said. So it just has like that storyline where guy gets traded, finds that, fixes that, gets back out in the core, and then just takes it to another level.
And now he's an all-star. You know what I mean?
And you talk about Indiana with the right pieces around him like that. That's a team that would be very competitive going forward in the future. That's a team that could outlast the Nets in 3 or 4 years and still have that core together. So yeah, shout out Pacers. They definitely made a great move. But we're talking about the Nets, and that's going to be the team to ultimately beat in the end, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think they have I don't think they're going to win a championship. And just I don't think they have enough to defensively on the defensive end to stop teams. You have the Bucks who are still going to score a ton of points on you. You have the Lakers who are going to score a ton of points on you eventually if you make it that far. If the Lakers get to the finals, and the Lakers are a very good team defensively with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Obviously, like if they have a team that they go against that can somewhat stop those guys, they're not just going to be able to score 130 points every night and just outscore guys every night. We've never seen a team consistently do that without having to play defense.
You have missed the point for me though, because there is one team that has the kryptonite that I feel like can compete with the Nets coming out of the East, and that's the Los Angeles Clippers. And I know that's going to be crazy for people to hear, but when you look at the way the teams would set up, you have a Pat Beverly that can kind of like stick around on Kyrie. You have a Kawhi Leonard that's going to take either Harden or Durant in that matchup. And Kawhi Leonard is a renowned best two-way player in the league, like one of the best defensive stoppers in the league. So, and
Pandemic
then you
P
have a guy
revitalized.
and then you have a pandemic P, Paul George, that can take the other defenders. So you have three guys that can ultimately slow them down a little bit and still be offensively good enough on the other end to be able to win a series. That's the only team. The Lakers, to me, do not match up well against the Nets at all. And I just seen it early on in the season. I know that's crazy, but I don't think that the pieces around LeBron and Anthony Davis can beat that three-headed monster. And like I said, like, you don't know how the rest of the season is going to shake out by that point. Does Brooklyn add PJ Tucker? You know, that feels like a guy that's going to be on the buyout market soon. Like, that feels like a guy that's going to be able to take some pressure off one of the defensive sides, whoever they play. So it's hard. You know, you want to root for your guy. This is when you have the banners behind you. You have the green team faith, and, you know, you want your guys to be able to, you know, handle what they need to handle. I feel like this is a chalk play, but in my head, there's no way that Brooklyn doesn't make the finals out of the East this year. There's no way.
Really?
There's no way.
I think there's something they got to do offensively. I mean, they put up a ton of points yesterday, but just the way it happened, where like James Harden only shoots 2 shots in the first half yesterday, and I don't know if that's just him trying to get acclimated with the other two.
It was the first game together.
You know, but, you know, I think that might have to how it has to work, because like Kyrie's never been the facilitator. He's never been a guy to average 10 assists in a season, but Harden can do that. Harden's a triple-double guy. Kyrie's never been that. So if Harden's more of a point guard and Kyrie plays more off ball, but either way, Kevin Durant needs to be their best player. Kevin Durant has to, night in and night out, be the guy who is always there in that dominant force, which obviously he's been. Coming back from that Achilles injury, he's playing, I think, better than any of us thought he might come back after missing a whole season. You know, so it's going to be, I don't know. They're going to score a ton of points going forward, but like I said, without having to being able to play a lick of defense, it can only get them so far. I don't think they get a ring out of it.
You can't win. Remember, you have to beat this team 4 times in a best-of-7 series.
Yeah.
You got to outscore them 4 times in a best-of-7 series.
Which if you get a team that can play defense, can be done, and who can also put up points.
But these guys are the best offensive players in the league. Like, they're always going to get it no matter what. Like, history has shown you that James Harden is going to be able to wake up, pull himself out of the strip club, off a bender, and still put up 35 no matter what. And then go back to the strip club, have that same night that he had the night before, and get up the next day and go to practice and still need to.
And you also got to realize there's like no offense being run with this team. It's 3 of the best.
They don't need it, though.
3 of the best isolation players in the league. But all it takes is for them to have one of those inefficient games where they're not hitting.
Okay, inefficient game where they're not hitting. Efficient. Like, they might lose in the regular season to a bum Cleveland team that they should not have lost to. But if they played Cleveland 10 more times right now, Mark, like, the Nets would win at least 9 of them. I think we both agree on that, right?
Oh yeah, I don't think it's a big deal that they lost to Cleveland. I think it's a big deal that they gave up that many points to Cleveland, because Cleveland literally is the worst scoring team offensive efficiency wise in the NBA. So you're playing the worst team scoring the ball wise with guys missing. They didn't have no Darius Garland last night. They had guys, some of their best players not playing, and they still put up 147 points.
This is the regular season of the NBA, Mark, where no one plays defense for 44 minutes. It just doesn't happen. In the playoffs, there's a difference between
not playing defense for 44 minutes and just not playing defense at all. Like, that team does. They don't have one solid good defender on their team,
and they will figure that out. But they have TLC. Like, they can play him, and DeAndre Jordan's a pretty good defensive player down low. So
DeAndre Jordan's way beyond. He's going to get played off the floor. They're going to get DeAndre Jordan in the pick and roll with these teams. He's not going to be able to cover anybody. He's not even going to be on the floor for most of the game.
I mean, he makes the Nets' life's a lot easier out of the pick and roll for guys like Kyrie and Harden. All he's going to do is
I'm saying defensively.
I know that.
In the pick and roll.
Yeah, but whatever. That's a subpar point. For me, it's a subpar point.
I mean, you're kind of baffled right now.
I'm not baffled because
it's not a subpar point when you don't have a rebuttal.
I do have a rebuttal. Like, I think DeAndre Jordan is more formidable than what you're saying. Like, obviously, I wish they had Jared Allen.
Jared Allen's way better right now than DeAndre Jordan.
But you have to beat them 4 times in the best of 7. And I think the regular season, like, it doesn't matter what they do. Like, do I think they're going to try hard? No, they're going to give you like 80% because 80% is going to be good most nights against the teams that they play.
Can't
They
believe
don't
you're
want to.
drinking the Brooklyn Nets Kool-Aid right now.
Because Mark, you're talking about a Kevin Durant who's come off an Achilles injury. Like, you think Kevin Durant's going to give you 150% every night? No, absolutely not. You have fat James Harden that's still working himself back into
Dude,
shape.
he's skinny James Harden now.
Yeah, he put on some tight stuff. I really believe that he's still chubby because I was
He was
watching
wearing a fat suit.
Yeah, you could see it in his face. He's still puffy.
It's his beard.
And Kyrie's one of the worst defensive point guards in the NBA over the last 5 seasons. So, like, we all know that there's going to be an issue there. It's when it gets to the playoffs when it's going to matter. Like, the biggest detriment to the Nets right now is their health going into the postseason. If all of 3 of those guys are healthy, no one's going to stop them. No one's going to stop them.
So you think Nets championship right now?
I'm saying Nets are going to make it to the championship right now.
Okay, yeah, I didn't say they're not. I didn't say they're, I just said they don't have enough to win a championship.
You know what this feels like, Mark? This feels like when the Warriors combined forces and you were just sitting there and you're like, there's no way that they're going to lose. We're watching a whole NBA season and we already know who's going to be crowned king. So let's just enjoy the other games because we all know it's going to happen. I feel like this is the same situation right now. Like, people just kind of want to just blur it out, block it out, and forget like how talented these 3 individuals are on a basketball court, and they just want to be able to talk about a meshing point. But they are arguably 3 out of the top 10 NBA players in the league when they're all playing, and they're all on one team now. So they're going to be able to get buckets. And like you said, like, if the defense is going to be the biggest bugaboo, like, trust me, I think they'll do enough to be able to handle teams when they need to handle teams.
All right, we'll see. All right, man. Let's move on to some betting tomorrow. We got some big slate of college basketball. Steve and I are going to give you guys a couple of picks each before we hop off and sign off for episode 44. And Steve's shaking his head right now. It means one of his bets is probably going bad.
4 goals. 4 goals in the third. It was 1-0 going to the third, and now it's 3-2 with 8 minutes to go in the third.
And you have 5.5, right? The under.
And the empty net is going to at least get pulled later.
Oh, that's right. The good old empty net.
It's over.
It's over. So let's hope we can do better tomorrow. What do you got?
It's literally over.
Slate? Oh, they just scored?
No, but it's going to go over. Like, we're saying it's over, and it's going to go over. So.
Oh, yeah. With the empty netter, it's going to go over.
Yeah, I know.
Who do you like tomorrow? Who's your first game?
I am going to hone in on Siena
and
St. Peter's. And I'm going to hone in on that total. I believe, Mark, do you have it up? Is it 132.5?
I can look that up really quickly.
I believe it's 132.5. Now, the one thing that I've watched a few St. Peter's games this year is they like to play slower. They like to get into sets, and they like to work their big man down low and be able to do what he needs to do. The thing I like about Siena in this game, in this pace, is they basically want to play your pace, but they want to play it better than you. Like, Siena is definitely the class of the league in the MAAC, and they had to start off against Monmouth, which was kind of slow this year. Oh, sorry, not Monmouth. I believe it was Niagara. But they've only played conference play since they've come in. And as we know, it's always been those double back-to-back games that they played in the conference. Now they're going to face a St. Peter's team, which is very good. I think the toughest game St. Peter's had this year was at Maryland, and I thought that they'd play a lot better in the game. I believe they lost by 16 in that game. Maybe it was even a little more. But mostly St. Peter's has been in their own league this year, and they're just not a team that likes to get up and down. Neither of these teams are going to really get up and down. Siena is definitely the better team, -5. If I had to go aside on that, I would take Siena, but I'm going to stick with the under in the points here, 132.5. I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, it is 132.5. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's going to be my play. Really, really like that play tomorrow.
Awesome. So for my first game, I'm gonna stay in the MAC conference as well, and I'm going with the Ball State Cardinals against the Ohio Bobcats tomorrow. And it's weird that you went under there because I feel like we've been betting a lot of MAC basketball lately, and I feel like everything has gone over in the MAC.
They're not the MAC.
Who's not the MAC?
St. Peter's and Siena.
I thought you just said they were the MAC.
They're the MAAC.
Oh, MACC. Oh, okay, I got you. My bad. You spelt it out. I thought you said MAC. That's my fault.
I would have just said MAC if it was the MAC.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you were getting fancy on the podcast.
No, I said MACC. Now just continue on. Okay, go with your pick.
So Ball State and Ohio Bobcats. I'm looking at this total, 149.5. I like the over in this game. Both of these teams can score the basketball. Ohio scores over a little over 80 points a game. Ball State's almost at 75 a game, and neither team plays defense. They both give up almost 75 points a game, and they both shoot it well from the field, over 50% from the field overall. And they both have teams where Ball State has a few guys that average double digits, and so does Ohio State. So I think they'll be able to get to their averages in this game to get it to go over. One trend I was looking at too in the MAC. So Ball State has actually played 12 games this year, and 11 out of the 12 games have gone over, and Ohio 8 out of their 11 games have gone over. So they're hitting Ball State the over at 92%, and Ohio's hitting at 73% the over in their games. So I'm going to stick with the over 150, 149.5 in this game.
What's the free throw percentages for both those teams?
I can look that up for you. Hold on one second.
Because I'll stress this to people when
you need free throws.
When you are betting totals. If a team goes to a line and misses the front end of a 1-on-1, that's as good as a turnover. That costs you another 20 seconds, 25 seconds. They go get 1 out of 2. It's costing you time. Like, you have to make sure that teams that you're taking overs on are good foul shooting teams, because free throws, especially in college basketball, will come back to haunt you. When you look at stats and covers at the end of the game and a team lost by 7, just go to that stat sheet and look at how many foul shots they lost. I bet they missed at least 7 or 8. I bet you that would have covered your spread if they were just a little better. But you know what?
A little bit better.
I will say that one of the most important stats to look at is foul shooting. We see it with Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado Buffaloes are shooting a team high 84% that's best in the nation. 84% as a team mark. That means that anytime you see a close line, 1, 2, with Colorado in it, Colorado is going to be the better team, and they're going to be the one that closes games out because of that foul shooting at the end. And anytime they get to the line, they're going to capitalize. That's why Colorado has been so good against the number this year, is because they do not waste opportunities. Where in college basketball, surprisingly, a lot of teams are not very, very good foul shooting teams, and they will play themselves out of games really quick. So we have those numbers.
Yeah, they both shoot over 70%.
All right, so I'm okay with that in a college standpoint, that if you think the over is going to hit, then that both of those teams are going to help you from the line, then I would definitely play that number.
Yeah, especially when you're betting the over too. Like if you're getting to that, like when you're betting an over, if they get into the penalty early, like we've had games where they've been in the penalty with like 12, 13 minutes left in the game, and they're now every foul you go on the line, you're shooting free throws. Like you said, if they can make their free throws, even though if they make both of the 1-on-1, the front end and then the back end, that's obviously good for that total over.
I agree.
What's your second game tomorrow?
All right. Well, I'm going to throw a quick one in there before I talk about my other game. One game I do like is Cleveland State. I think Cleveland State's a very underrated team, and I feel like you're getting a good number at -5 because they just had the wheels beat off them against Wright State. Wright State's the class of the league. Definitely the class of the league in the horizon. So Cleveland State beat Wright State the first game. They lost by a bajillion the second game. Milwaukee's not that good. You're getting a number at -5 that I feel like Cleveland State's going to be able to control pace in that game and be able to get above the number. That's just me just kind of deviating. The team that I'm going to talk about is a team that is probably my favorite in the nation, and that's the Boise State Broncos and that's going to be playing Fresno State now. Boise State 13-1 in the Mountain West, 9-0. Only losses against Houston, which was the first game of the year. Now on a 13-game winning streak.
Boise State. Tell the Boise State story.
What about the Boise State story?
National champs, baby.
Boise State. I have a ticket for Boise State, 750-1. 750-1.
Right.
What are you gonna say?
Got to take it. And you've more than made your money back on them, right?
Absolutely. I bet them every game. Right? I bet them every game. Last night they played Fresno State. They were terrible, Mark. They were terrible. Fresno State hadn't played in about 3 weeks. They were sitting there because they had COVID issues. They had to quarantine. They turned around. They were in Boise a couple days waiting for Boise. They were ready to play for that game. Fresno State, a far inferior team than Boise State. Boise State was at one point 2 for 20 from the 3-point line in that game. They were shooting 23%, but during that time, they never trailed by more than 3 points. They were always in that game. And then all of a sudden, Boise State switch went off. All of a sudden, 18-0 run. 18-0 run, and then you're covering 14.5. The thing that makes Boise State so special is how well they did in the transfer portal in the offseason. They were able to add Sasser from Wyoming. They were able to add they have two solid wings in Kejab and Alshon, like guys that were have gotten better and grown through the years that they've been there. They've got Dutribe from Arizona. They just got they have a shooter, a sharpshooter in Rice. They have a nice
Yeah.
big down low. They're just one of those teams that are just complete from top to bottom, and they play about an eight-man roster, including their point guard Dennis. They are a team that people are sleeping on still, an absolute team. And the thing that I will show in on is you're getting the same line against Fresno State as you got the other night. And I know that we've said it all the time, and we've said it with Boise one time this year. They beat San Jose State by 58, and then they ended up winning the next game by 1. This game to me is a lot different in that situation because I felt like Fresno State was in the game because of how bad Boise State was playing, and I felt like it took Boise State a full half and a half of basketball to be able to figure out like how to beat this Fresno State team, and not only get that, but then just provide energy because you're talking about one of the best, like a very solid 3-point shooting team, and they could just not buy a bucket the other night. They could not buy a bucket, and they weren't bad looks. They were open looks. They were absolutely open looks. They were killing them on the boards. They were getting second, third opportunities at them, and they just were not completing it. I love Boise State at the 14. I love that total over 137 because I can't see Boise not putting up at least 75 to 80 points in this game. So basically, it's going to hone in on what Fresno State can do on the other side of it. I think Fresno State was good enough offensively against a Boise State team that's not really great defensively that can do enough to be able to put you in a situation between 55, 60 points, which I think is going to get you above that number. So that's kind of like where I'm honing in on. Honing in on that 137. I thought the number that you saw the other night was not an it's one of those that if you look in the game track, you would have been like, those teams suck. But if you actually watched that game and you watched how poorly Boise State was playing, how badly Fresno State was turning over the ball to be able to allow Boise State, like Fresno State's biggest bugaboo was they weren't getting shots off. They just weren't getting shots off. They were just making bad passes and they weren't finishing foul shots. So 137, I feel like is a steal because if this game was the way it was supposed to be the other night, which I felt like it was going to be like 82-65, like you're getting a very, very good number at 137 if you didn't watch the game the other night. So that's my play. I'm going to take over Boise State, Fresno State, 137, and I'll have a small play on the minus 14 in that game.
I was going to ask you about that. So it's a minus 14, right, in that game. So I know we kind of had a trend where big spreads and teams with the big spreads in the second game of a back-to-back, usually that team with the big spread ends up covering. That's getting the points. But I think I said to you is I think Boise's going to just come out from jump. And I think Fresno kind of maybe, I don't want to say blew their load a little bit with that game yesterday, but I don't know if they can keep that up for another game. And I think Boise might just jump out. I think you said like somebody in the game was talking trash. And as soon as like somebody started talking shit, like just a switch, like just flipped with Boise and they just turned it on. And I think they might just come out from the jump next game and just put this team away, kind of have that kind of in the back of their mind a little bit as well, and just put this game out of reach quick. So I know we said before teams, getting the double-digit spread, take them, but I think Boise might cover the spread again.
There was no resistance for Fresno State the other night that should have allowed Boise State not to win by 35. It was just Boise State was not helping their cause at all. Like they just weren't, you're going to have nights like that. You're going to have nights where you're not going to be able to hit shots, but you got to be able to figure out other ways. I think that Fresno State brought the energy. They hadn't played in a while. They were getting a Boise State team that's on 12. But this is what Boise State has to realize. They're going to get everybody's best shot now. They're not sleepwalking by anybody. Everybody knows what they're about. So they have to be able to bring that energy and that intensity. I like the fact that it's been Boise again. I think that another day in between was able to get their heads right. Even though they won, I think they felt like they should have been able to win by a lot more. I know we have the trend of tougher games, there might be a stylistic change. Like I said, I just didn't see Fresno State's resistance in that game that made me believe that Boise wasn't going to be able to run over them next time they played them. It just didn't feel that way. It felt like Boise State kind of was their own worst enemy in that game. And it's wild to me that at 13-1, Boise State's still not ranked in the top 25.
I was going to say that. I was like, they haven't been ranked all season, I don't think.
No, I don't really understand that. Maybe it's because of the scheduling, but I don't really know what else you want them to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you want them to do. Like, they're clearly a lot better than teams that are inside. We just had Duke still in the top 25 mark. Like, Duke
Yeah.
is
And Duke is not
atrocious.
good.
No, Duke is atrocious. Is it going to take Boise to go beat the pants off of San Diego State? Maybe. I guess that's what they need. I mean, they went to BYU and they won that game, so I don't really know what the issue is. But hey, let them keep flying under the radar. Like, let them keep flying under the radar. We'll be waiting for them in March when we start laying Boise State money lines. Promise you that.
That's right. My next pick for tomorrow is I'm looking at the Michigan Wolverines and the Purdue Boilermakers game. I like this total in this game at 138. I like it to go over in this game. I see the score. In my mind, I got a score come to like 70, 75. I think it's going to be a close game. Michigan and Purdue, they can both score the ball. They each, Michigan puts up 80 points a game, Purdue 71. They give up close to 70 points a game, so they're okay defensively, not great. That's still pretty high. They both shoot 50% from the field. Rebounding is very similar as well. These guys rebound the ball very well. They both average 40 rebounds, close to 40 rebounds a game. But I think the Michigan Wolverines, their big three of Dickinson, Lever, and Wagner. Let me say that right. Mo Wagner's little brother. They all average over 12 points a game, with Dickinson averaging 16 a game. I think they're going to be able to continue that and have great games. Purdue is hot, though, right now. They've won 4 in a row, and they've had some good wins. They beat Michigan State. They beat Penn State, who is crushing Rutgers tonight, which Rutgers we know is not what they were at the beginning of the season. They just came off a big win against OSU, where they forgot his name, Stevie, that freshman hit that Ivy is his name. He hit that clutch 3-pointer in there. And that's a kid who hasn't been he only plays 15 minutes a game. He hasn't been getting a lot of minutes, but a shot like that can definitely propel a guy as far as confidence, especially when you're young like that. I think they're able to keep this game close. I do think Michigan wins, but I do think it's going to go over the total. 75-70 would be my prediction on the final score there.
I like it.
Any other small plays? That's probably it.
Nope.
I didn't see anything else to really like. So
it's Friday.
That's right. It's
Friday.
a big slate. It's a big slate that starts at 12, guys. So we got a lot to look forward to tomorrow.
I wanted to see really quick if I could get. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is I like to look at games in the future and kind of price a line where I would think that the number is going to be, and then go back to that and then say well, if I thought the line was 4 and then it comes back 1, well, then I know I have value on that team at that point, because I think your judgment really is the thing that matters the most. So you have different avenues like Ken Palm that can give you an abbreviated line of when a matchup happens to give you an idea of what you should expect when it comes to it. But I think you using your own brain and trying to figure out from what you've learned where it can be is definitely something that allows you to jump ahead of the game, because we talk about all the time, you win the battle when you get the best number, and you only get the best number when they hit the books, because as soon as the public gets in the way of it, they're going to start driving up one side of it, and that might be your side, and you might get a worse and worse number. And you and I both know Vegas is pretty good around the number, so you don't want to go too far away from what you like. And I always say you need to watch where the trends go. That, I mean, that is important. People that don't watch lines and just kind of bet games and do that, I don't really know the science in that at all. You have to kind of watch things. It's like the stock market. You have to know why. If something moves one way, there's a reason why that line's moving one way, whether it's an injury, whether something happened that you don't know about yet. There's always a reason why money pushes a certain way. So, game I'll look at right now, UConn, Creighton. UConn's without Buchre, their best player, probably not expected back. But what we've seen from UConn is they've been pretty good. They just lost to St. John's at home, and I think that woke them up. I think they kind of had a letdown there. I think Posh Alexander kind of caught them by surprise. But you got a UConn team that's going on the road to Creighton, who just lost to Providence College, and they were also a 10-point favorite in that game. So, Mark, UConn at Creighton, you have to believe Creighton's going to be a favorite in this game, right?
Oh yeah, I would assume they got Zagorowski back too, so you would definitely 100% think they're going to be a favorite.
Both teams are desperate. Both teams are well coached. In my opinion, that Creighton line is going to probably be at 6.5, right?
And Creighton's coming off of 2 losses, I think, too, right? Butler and PC.
Yeah. No, I think they won Butler. I think they just lost to PC.
No, they lost to Butler. They lost to Butler in the overtime game. Yeah, last Saturday.
So you got two desperate teams. Like, in my opinion, Creighton's going to be favored by 6.5. If I see that number at 3.5, 4.5, that's a bet for 6.5 for me with Creighton. If I see that number at 8.5, 9, maybe I'm probably going to be looking at the Huskies way at that point. So that's kind of the way I look at it. That's going to be a really good game.
That's good thinking, and that is going to be a good game, actually.
you got Providence at Villanova, Clemson at Florida State, Ohio State at Wisconsin.
There's a ton of good games tomorrow. Is that Saturday's slate or tomorrow's slate? That's Saturday.
That's Saturday's slate. You got Mississippi State going to one of the hottest teams right now in the country in Alabama, who just killed LSU with 24 threes the other night, Mark. I think they set a SEC record.
Wild,
was originally
set by wild.
Alabama's got a defensive stopper. They've got great shooting around. They just
Bryce
lost
Petty
Brunson.
Was on fire, dude. Unbelievable.
They lost Brunson, who was their transfer from Yale. And it kind of seemed like, while he's very, very good, it kind of seemed like it slowed them down a little bit in terms of how they were going to try to work him in and get him effective in what they were doing. And it seemed like they were starting to do it. But as soon as they pull him out and they go back to the old crew, it just seems like this team wants to just run and just spread the wings and just launch. And then when they're hitting, You're not going to beat them. You got Missouri going to Tennessee. Tennessee just lost by 26 to Florida, right? Missouri's been rolling. But what we know about Missouri is Missouri does not play well on the road. Missouri, Tennessee, that's going to be a under that I'm going to be looking at because Missouri struggles. And we know that Tennessee offensively has been struggling lately too. So if that number is 142, which I think it's going to be, I think that I'm going to probably look at that game to be under.
Awesome. So a lot of good things you guys can look at when you're betting these college basketball games. And like we said, so thanks for tuning in, guys, and thanks for listening for episode 44 for the love of the game. Before we head out, I wanted to shout out our sponsors one more time, rxhemp.com. Go check out their all-natural CBD products and use code rxhemp-usn. Save yourself 10%. And then to put all this knowledge to the test, go over to mybookie.ag to make some sports bets. Use code USN100, and then you can match your deposit up to 100%, up to $1,000, guys. Also wanted to say thank you guys for listening and rating and reviewing the podcast. We got a bunch more 5-star reviews, a lot of nice ratings and stuff like that. So we appreciate you guys listening. And if you're a new listener, if you could rate and review the podcast as well on Apple Podcasts, it definitely helps with exposure of the show. And we'd greatly appreciate that, Steve and I. You can follow us on Twitter, myself at WiredSports_CEO, and Steve is at SLewis5656. And then on there, we'll keep you updated with all our plays, little updates with the shows. If you guys are listening to this on the audio podcast, we go live for all these episodes. So all of our episodes are live on Twitter. So you can check us out there and you can interact with us on the show live if you guys would like to do that as well. So we'll be back next week, guys, with another episode of For the Love of the Game. Until then, peace, guys.
Ciao.